Okay, should be recording. So yeah, so Java was free at some point, and then they moved to a model where they have releases, which is called the LTS releases. Those release was paid, so but we still had some version that was still free to use. But very recently, I've read about that. So based on the comments that they've been having, based on the feedback from academia, based on feedback from enterprise, so Java is moving back to the previous model, which is like free open source, right? And no question asked. So for the in terms of robustness of Java and security, and very good point is that they have a large community and ton of resources, and that makes that very easy for us as developers to code, to seek help. Okay. Now, where is Java being used? So we all know it's used for program development, for software development. So Java was initially, when I say initially, that was during the time of James Gosling. So it was a language for digital devices, mostly for television, TV decoders, etc. But nowadays, Java is practically used everywhere for every kind of development. So be it from a commercial website to an Android app, from scientific application to gaming application. It's wide range. Okay, so these are a couple of development that can be done using Java. So you're talking about desktop application, web application, server-side development, Android development for mobile, with recently big data being the new norm. So big data development, machine AI, and obviously gaming at some point. Okay, so now just who is using Java? Just a couple examples. There's long list of them. So first is NASA. We all know NASA. So NASA is using an application called GMOS, which is a geospatial system used by NASA scientists. It's mostly for mission planning, analysis of spatial data, mostly for remote sensing. Like that, they have so many other applications based on Java. They have Gmoon. They even have their own API written in Java, which is called NASA Worldwide, and they use that API to build up new software for NASA. Okay, next, I'm sure you guys have used Wikipedia at some point to do some sort of assignment. So Wikipedia search is powered by Java. They initially use a tool called Lucene. It's mostly for indexing and searching content. But very recently was replaced by another concept called Elasticsearch that also Java based. Okay, and probably haven't heard of it. This is an IntelliJ is one of the most developer we use IDE to code. So he uses Java to enhance the navigation features. All right, and last into the gaming world. So probably you've heard about it or you've played it before. So a very popular 3D sandbox gaming, which allows cross-functional play, which is Minecraft. All right, and like that, there is so many application that is being coded and using Java behind the scenes. Right, so that was a bit about the introduction, a bit the basic of Java. Now let's move a bit more than technical side of it. Okay, first to start coding Java itself, you need to have a JDK be deployed on your machine. You know, when we look at the first slide, it was talking about JDK 1.0. Now we are like JDK 18. So what does JDK gives you is like it gives you all the core libraries that you need to start coding in Java. Okay, and it also gives you a couple of more things like a JVM for you to run your Java application, a compiler for you to compile your code, debugger if you want to debug your code, etc. So first you'll start at this level. So you'll have your IDE set up, your IntelliJ, your Eclipse, anything. You'll start coding Java code. So that will be human readable code. Okay, and at some point when you're finished with your coding, you will build your code, and that will be using the Java compiler, which will convert your source code. Your source code are in file written like in .java files, and that compiler will compile it into bytecode, which will be in class files. Okay, Now those class files can be read by your GVM. GVM is what is going to take those Java files and execute them. So let's say we're doing like a calculator application. So your calculator will be able to be run on that GVM. So again, here, another level of conversion, it will convert your Java bytecode into machine language based on the platform. Now we are talking more about the platform. Where are we? Are we on a Microsoft platform? Are we on a Linux platform? So that your GVM will know, will compile it more to reflect on the platform that you are using. And the GVM is part of a GRE. Okay, what is a GRE now? It's the Java runtime environment. So it includes the GVM and also some of the core libraries. Okay, so if you look at it as a bigger picture, first we talk about the GDK. So the GDK itself contains a GRE for you to run your application, and inside you have your GVM with the core Java libraries, and you have a couple of more tools that you need for development, like compilers, like we say, for compiling your code, debuggers for debugging, and some documentation, of course. Okay, just a quick code. Java is not magical. It's just a tool for people to build stuff. And that was from James Gosling, the creator of Java. It can be sounds complicated, but in the end, you're just building stuff. Okay. Now, object-oriented concept. So those are the fundamental concept of Java. All right. So we have those 5 concepts. Let's take a look at them. So initially we say that we rely on the paradigm of object-oriented. So everything is being related to an object. We're talking about customers. We're talking about our product. So everything will be grouped as an object. And in Java, an object will be a class. Will be a class with state and behaviors. Let's take an example. We take human as an object. So human has state like what's your age, what's your gender, for example, and it has behaviors. What can human do? You can eat, you can sleep, you can walk, things like that. Okay, so everything in the world can be grouped as an object. Okay. Next concept is inheritance. That's where we have parent classes. For example, we have a class called animal, and then we have child class called, I don't know, dog, cats. So those child classes is going to inherit all the features, all the state and behaviors from the parent. Okay, so if the parents say that they can communicate, they can eat, so the child will also have the same behavior and same state, but they can have additional of them. Okay. Next is about abstraction. It's mostly about hiding irrelevant details. For example, I'm sure probably some of you are drivers. So you know how a car drives. So you just have to apply the accelerate pedal, and the car will go forward. And if you want to stop, you apply the brake pedal, right? But do you know under the hood what's happening? Like when I apply the brake, what's happening under the hood? We don't know, and we don't care unless you're a mechanical engineer or someone working in the automobile. So, but just to see that those information are irrelevant to us. Okay, we know that when we apply the brake, it's going to stop. That's fine with us, right? So in Java, we use the concept of like interfaces to do abstraction, right? And next about encapsulation. So we are wrapping code inside codes. When I say code, is that state and behavior inside one classes, and then we provide mutators like getters and setters for us to change that data. And last, we have polymorphism. So it's ability to appear in many forms. Like initially, we took the example of inheritance. We say that animal can eat, but we say that the child classes like cat, or let's say communicate, animal can communicate, but child classes like cat, dogs, they have different ways to communicate. So we're talking about same communication, but different ways. So similarly here in polymorphism, we can achieve that in Java using method overriding. So for cat, it will have a different way of communicate. So we'll override that method to say that cat does it like that, and for dogs communicate a different way, right? So that's where we come with polymorphism. All right. So these are the Java basics that we are going to cover during our practical session. So we'll look a bit about the basic structure in Java, the basic syntax, how we create a class, how we create a method, how we have main methods, the different data types that we have. We have primitive, we have object-oriented type data type. We have different constructor that we look at, different method, variable type, how we use it to do decision making, and the basic operators. All right. Okay, let's do some practice now. I don't know if there's any question. Feel free to put it in the chat or in the Q&A section, and we'll try to address those questions. All right, so can you see my ID?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So I think earlier I said IntelliJ. So this is my IntelliJ. This is where I spend all my time during the day doing my coding. Okay. So this is a fresh project. I've called it Java Basics. So we'll start off creating a basic class. Okay. So new class, and you can see just focus on the class for now. There's other thing like interfaces. We'll look at that a bit in the later. Let's take example what we're doing today. We're doing a meeting, for example. So I'm trying to represent meeting as an object. Okay, so we said that an object has state and behaviors. Okay, so what do we have? What can a meeting have as state? So a meeting can have a, let's say, so long is a data type for integer. So I want a meeting ID, for example, just to uniquely identify a meeting. I'm using now string as text, as characters, to say that that's the description of a meeting. Okay, just keep it short, description. What else can we have for a meeting? We can say that a meeting can have a start time. So we use Java datetime. This is another type that's already provided by Java. So a meeting has to be scheduled at some date, some time. All right, and what else? Maybe a meeting can have a status, whether it's in progress, it's canceled, it's finished, something like that. Okay, there's a couple of state. So let's add some more. Let's say let's started on when was the meeting started, and when was the meeting finished. All right. So these are state, right? Now behavior. What are behavior? Behavior or methods. What can you do with a meeting? Let's start with, so I'm using public. Public say that this is publicly accessible. Anyone can use that method. And I won't say that that method return me, for example, a string magnified.
Ishad, can you yeah. You can use the plus sign, control, scroll up.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it
Maybe
is.
you put more focus on the main where you're typing the code, Ishad. Like they can see this part and reduce the.
Yeah, the magnify is not, doesn't work on the ID actually.
Unless what we can do, can we put it on a notepad and scroll it over there?
we can, but we also want to run it.
Compile. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Can you
It's
see?
good.
Yeah, it's better
it's
now.
good, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Much better.
Okay. Perfect. So we're doing a method now. So public is what's the accessor method. So whether it's publicly accessible, we'll look at the different type of accessor methods that we can have. We can have public, private. We'll look at that a bit later. So, and first is the return type. So I'm expecting a method to return a string. And next I'm going to write my method name. So let's say I want to start meeting, and we can pass some parameters. So I want to say that this is the meeting I want to be starting. Okay, so now you can see that it's being highlighted because it was expecting something to be returned. Okay, you can either provide something in return, or you can set it as void. Then you're not expected to have a return. So let's keep that as a return. So when I'm starting a meeting, so I'm using this. This will relate to that meeting ID from that class meeting, and I'm setting it the value that you've just provided me. Okay. Okay. And now when I start a meeting, what do I want to do? I want to say that, for example, the status now is like in progress. What else? I can also set the date, started on. So local date time is, it provides some helper method, like how it already gives you the current date and time. So I'm going to use that. I'm just going to output in the console. So to output in console, you use something what's called the system out the println. Okay, and what it's going to do is going to print in my console. Okay, so I can say that meeting with ID that you've paused has started at, and we have the time. And as a return, we want to return the status. So we know it's in progress. Sorry, status. Right. So if you look back, so we have our object called meetings, we have some state, we have a behavior. Let's try another methods. Let's say now it's a void. I want to cancel meeting. Again, I'm going to tell you which meeting I want to cancel. Okay, so I'll change the status to cancel. And now I want to call another method, which is, let's say I want to delete that meeting because it has been canceled. So I have a method called delete meeting, for example, and I will tell you what's the meeting ID. Okay, so I don't have that method yet, but I can create it. And I can set it to private. Let's say delete meeting is very critical. You don't want other classes to be using that, so you can set it to private, meaning that only this class can use that delete method. Anyone who call it outside that class cannot have access to that delete meeting. Okay. So what do we do when we're deleting? So cancel meeting, and here internally. Okay, so still in the behavior section, we have a couple of methods. So one is for starting meeting, one is for canceling meeting, and one which is a private method to delete meeting. Okay, so we have defined our class now. Now let's see how do we execute that class. Okay, so normally, how do I exit now?
You can try escape.
Yeah, try escape. Okay, here you go. View. Where was it? Okay, exit. There you go. So now I have a meeting. So before we move to the main method, a couple of things I want to add. So there are some naming standard that we need to address. Okay, so when we're declaring a method, normally you start with a capital letter. So whether it's meeting, whether it's anything else, start with a capital letter. And when we describe variables, which are states, we normally do camel case. So lowercase, and then anything that follows uh, will be in uppercase. So let's say, like, for example, description, so English, for example, so that will be camel case. And for methods, normally start with lowercase and follow the camel case. So those are some of the best practices in terms of naming standard. Right now, what I've done, I've put that classes directly into my source, but we can use something like package to arrange our code. So let's say we're going to put that in a package called code. We may need tag. It's a model, which is normally what we an object. Okay, so now I can rearrange. My meeting is here. Tomorrow I have another class called, I don't know, meeting service, for example. I can move that to a okay, just to have like some ordering into your code. Okay, what else do you want? Also, you can see that here I've used that a comment. So comments are being ignored by your compiler. So even how many comments you write, it's going to be ignored by your compiler. This is a one-line comment. So if I want to continue to write the comment, it's going to give me an error. So if you want to write multiple line of comments, what you can do is /**, and then you can write whatever you want. That's the multiple line comments. Okay, so we talk about packaging, we talk about comments. Okay, yeah, let's continue with our main method. So the main method is the one who is going to create a meeting, and then we can use those methods that we created. Okay, now first I need to create an instance of a meeting. Okay, and to do that, we use what we call constructor. Okay, so even though you see that I haven't defined any constructor here, but Java by default gives you a no args constructor, a default constructor which is no args. So there is no argument that's required. And here I already have an instance of meeting. Now I can use those behaviors. Sorry. First, I need to use what we call a main method to publish static main void. From here, I can run my code. You can see that I already have that green arrow that allow me to run my code. So from here, I can have an instance here of my meeting. Then I can use the method that we that we've created. Before we go to that, so one important thing that we've described some variable. Now we want to apply what we call encapsulation. So we are not allowing the others, like our main, to manually manipulate the data. We provide them with what we call mutators, getters and setters. Those mutators will allow you to set values and get values always. So this is called mutators. So normally I'm using Java 1.8, and luckily, so for Java 1.8, I still need to generate that myself. Sorry, still need to generate that, but luckily with the new Java, I think from Java 17, you don't need to generate that. It would be like boilerplate codes. Okay, now from here, you can see from my main method, I can set more information to my meeting. I can set the description. I can set the schedule, the description of the meeting. Okay, so going back to the constructor part. So this is a no args constructor, but I can custom define my parameterized constructor. So how do I do that? If I come here, I say that to be able to create a meeting, you need to provide me some predefined information. Okay, to define constructor, I'm going to call it public meeting, and you will provide me with some essential information for me to create a meeting for you. And the rest, you don't have to provide all information. You can, at least those are element information that I need to know for me to be able to create a meeting. Okay, for example, I will need you to provide me a meeting ID, a meeting description, and probably a date when you want that meeting to be scheduled. Okay, schedule on. And now to those data will be applied to my local variable. So the meeting ID here will be the one that you've passed in. Same thing for description. Same thing for schedule on. Okay, so that's a long, not an integer. Okay, so that's my parameterized constructor. And now I can no more use that noargs constructor because I've already defined a custom, a parameterized constructor. Now to be able to create a meeting, I need to provide those information. So we see that initially I said I need to provide an ID, I need to provide a description, I don't know, like Java, and I need to provide a date when I want it to be scheduled. Let's say now, for example, sorry, I took long. So to use long, I need to apply an L at the end. And here you go. So we have our meeting. And now from that meeting, I can do stuff. I can say, I want to start that meeting, the one that we just wrote. And to start that, okay, maybe I don't need to pass that parameter again because it's already there. So I don't need that anymore. And yeah, so start that meeting. So let's run and see what's happened. Okay, so from here you can see that the meeting 1, 2, 3, which we define here, I started at 11:22. Okay, similarly now you can use the other behaviors. I want to cancel a meeting. Okay, let's comment this out. Okay, so cancels. So this was deleting a meeting. Okay. So I'm deleting the meeting and then I'm printing that this meeting has been canceled. Right, so that was about meetings. Now let's try to apply what we call an interface. This is more about it's more about abstraction, what we call earlier when we took that example where we're driving a car. So we know we have accelerate, we know we have brakes, but we don't care what's happening behind. So that's where we have interface. So I know for a meeting service, I need something like a start meeting. Okay, I want a cancel meeting. And that's it. So you just define what you need here. It's like a contract, okay? And you don't care what's happening behind the scene because there will be some other classes which is going to implement that to say what's going to be the how to start a meeting, how to cancel a meeting. Okay. So now, before we move to that interface, let's go back saying that we look at the inheritance. So here we as a hierarchy, we'll look at meeting. Now we can have like child classes. For example, let's take a Zoom meeting, which we are going to be, we're going to make it as a child class of the meeting. So how we do inheritance in Java, you just need to extend that class, that meeting. Meaning now, everything that meeting has, Zoom meeting can have, and it can have additional things, okay? Of course, we've defined a parameterized constructor, which take like those 3 parameters. Earlier, we see that we've used the term this. This refers to the class's variable. Now, when we do inheritance, we also have super. Super is referring to the parent constructor. So if I click on the super, you see I will be redirecting to the parent class constructor. Okay. Now, let's say for a Zoom meeting, we can have additional state. I don't know, maybe recording enable or broadcast, something like that. Okay, and Boolean is like true or false. Okay, it's 1 bit, true or false. And again, I want to generate some getters, what we call mutators, for a Zoom meeting. Now let's go back here. Now, instead of a normal meeting now, I want to create a Zoom meeting. Okay, we call a Zoom meeting. Let's go to new Zoom meeting. And we've used the same constructor that the parent used. Now that's a Zoom meeting. And from here now with the Zoom meeting, I can set like recording enable true, Zoom meeting set what we took, podcast false, and sorry, should have it set. And Zoom meetings still have all the state of what meeting already had. Like we had description, schedule on, finish on, status, and additionally those 2 meetings. All right, so this is what we call about inheritance. So this is the parent class. This is a child class with all the features from the parent and as well some additional features. Good. So let's go back to the interface. We say that we define an interface which will, for a meeting service that allow us to start a meeting and cancel a meeting. Now we want someone to implement that for us. Okay, and we know maybe Zoom have a meeting service for us. Okay, we call it IMPM, so implementation. And we'll try to regroup that into an IMPM package. Okay. So now I want this class to implement that interface that we've defined. So our interface called meeting service, and you see that it's already highlighting me saying that you have some method that meeting service is requiring. So you need to provide me with the implementation now. So let's implement those two methods. And this already, we are talking here about polymorphism. You can see that we are using like that. This is called an annotation. So we are overriding what start meeting needs to be. For a Zoom meeting, it can be different from a normal meeting, from a client meeting, face-to-face meeting. It is different. So we are overriding that, but every meeting has to be started. So if it is a client meeting, maybe we'll do it differently. But if it is a Zoom meeting, it's different. So this is where we talk about polymorphism. Okay, just going to pick. So we've done these two. So cancel, start meeting. Okay. So to start a meeting, we'll create a Zoom meeting first. We'll tell you the Zoom meeting number. And a date. Okay. So I'm overriding the start meeting saying that this is a Zoom meeting that has started. Okay. Similarly, if you want to cancel a meeting, would be pretty much the same thing. Okay, so now if I go back to my main method, so I'm using the Zoom meeting service. Okay, let's call that service new Zoom meeting service that I want to start a meeting. All right, run that. Let's hope I can see the console from here. Okay, you can see the console. So you can see that we've started a Zoom meeting. So like that, we can have multiple implementation. Go back. So we have today we only have Zoom meeting. Let's say tomorrow you have something called like a client meeting. have something called like I don't know, an internal meeting for your team, for your company. So, but they all follow the same services. They all follow the same interface. And for a client meeting, so instead of a Zoom meeting, it will be a client, let's say, facing meeting, and we can select client meeting. Similarly this is an internal meeting. So you can see that we can have multiple implementation, but they're all following the same interface. Similarly, like when we talk about cars, so even a BMW, even a Mercedes, when you apply the brake, it will stop. Similarly, here we have applied the same concept, right? Okay. So just one more thing when we talk about interface that was introduced in Java 8. Uh, Previously, we say that interface only have method definition like this. We don't have any implementation, but recently with Java 8, we can have default method now. You can have a method with its implementation, like let's say close meeting. And I can provide the implementation here itself. Okay, so it's a void meeting. It's a void method. And let's say internally, we can just print closing meeting. Okay, so that's a default method. And go back to the main. Can use uh, the close meeting, and everyone has it. It will be the same for everyone. It will be, sorry. Even here internally, when I cancel a meeting, I want to close the meeting as well. All right, so that's something that was introduced in Java 8. You can have default methods. Okay, so I started the meeting and then I closed the meeting. Okay, maybe another thing I want to add in terms of accessor. Let's go back to, for example, meeting. We talk about public methods and private methods, but there's another one. There's one which called protected. Okay, let's say that's our close meeting. So we know public, everyone from any class can call it. As long as I have an instance of that class, I can call it. Private is only within that class, the meeting class can access it. No one can access it outside. But we also have protected. Protected is that if I'm within the same package of the class, I can call it. If I'm outside the package, then I can't call that method. So when you look at it, it's just packaging, it's just about ordering, but it's also about accessing those methods. Okay, so we took meeting from here. Let's try to create back a meeting. So now I have an instance of that meeting. And if you look at the methods that we can call, we can only call cancel meeting and start meeting, but you don't have what we just described as a closed meeting, because this class is outside that package of model. So if I move it let's say I move that main clause inside model where it is in the same packaging as meeting. Now I should be able to use the closed meeting. Okay, so if I'm outside the packaging of this method, I can't call it. But if I'm within that package, then I can use it. A bit different, like private. Private, you can't even access it, even if you're in the same package. All right. So 11:30, good. Let me just see. Okay, all right. So we'll try something else now. We're done with meeting, so let's try something about a calculator. We'll try calculator class. Just checking if we have any questions. Okay. All right. So we want to regroup calculator under a different package because it's something different from meeting. Okay. So what can we do with the calculator? We know we can do addition, subtraction, multiplication. So we'll try to use the what we call operators, arithmetic operators in Java to do those. So let's say calculator, you can do an addition. So I'm going to take an integer a plus an integer b, and then you give me the addition. Okay. So let's say add as parameter, I have integer a, integer b. Okay. And like I said, that's a return type, so I'm expecting another integer. So I will use the arithmetic operator, which is the plus sign. Okay, so similarly, we can do same for minus. So take a, b, I use the minus sign. What else do we have? We have multiply. For that, we use the star sign. Have division. We use the slash sign. Okay, so let's test this out. Previously, we've defined our main method outside of the class, but you can also have it inside the class. So my main method now is here. So first, to be able to call those methods, I need to have an instance of that class. Okay, and to have an instance, like we said, we need a constructor. Okay, we're going to use the default constructor provided by Java itself with no parameter. Okay, from now we can use the different method that we have in our calculator. Okay, so let's test this out. So add, I want to 2 plus 3. I'm going to do a couple of examples. Okay, how much do we have? Okay, we're adding 2 plus 3, we're adding 4 plus 5. Now let's use the minus one. So 9 minus 3, 2, let's do minus 7. Again, we're doing the minus, multiply. So 2 times 3. Times 10, for example. And let's try the div as well. and let's say 20. Okay. So what I'm expecting is here you do the addition, so 2 plus 3, 5. Here it's going to be 9 minus, it's going to be 6 minus 5, goes on like that. Okay, let me put it back to that mode. Okay, so like I said, we are using the arithmetic operators, and we have a couple more. We have also the modulus. So modulus is like we are doing. Let me just give you an example. Let's say 10 by 3. So 10 divided by 3 is 9. So I'm expecting 1 to be remaining. Yes. Okay, 1 remaining. And we have 2 more arithmetic operators. We have what we call the double plus sign and the double minus sign. So let's say I want to count the number of time I'm calling those methods. What you'll normally do is I will initialize a count, saying that it is initially 0. And then after each call, I'm going to say that I'm going to increase the count. So I'm going to increment it by 1. Okay. All right. So if I look at it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9. So at the end, if I want to print the count, okay, sorry, should be 9 times. Okay, 9. Now, instead of every time doing the count plus 1, count plus 1, what you have in Java, you can use the double plus sign, which does the same thing. Okay, should be 9 again. So we use it as incrementer, and similarly for minus minus is the decrementer. So let's say the count is let's say 10. So now instead of plus plus, I'm doing minus minus. Sorry, minus minus. So we do it. We call the method 9 times. So I started the count as 10. So I should be left with 1. There you go, 1. All right, that was mostly about arithmetic operators. Now we have other kind of operators in Java. We have so let me bring back that presentation. Okay, maybe one thing I've missed. We have keyword. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay. There's key that.
Richard, we are seeing your PowerPoints, not slide show mode.
Okay. Where did my mouse go? I Control P. Okay, I can see my mouse now. Okay.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
good.
So in Java, we have some keywords. So those are reserved words. So you can't use those words if you are doing like naming your variables. So you can't name your variables like Boolean because it is a reserved word. We know Boolean is only being used for if we're defining true or false. Okay. So if let's take example. So here, if I try to call a string called Boolean, so you will see that it will tell me that that's an issue because it is a reserved word. Okay. And like this, you can't call a variable starting with special characters, um, like or numbers, even numbers. So a special character, like if I say uh, modulus, this is my variable name, so it won't allow you. But what you can do is you can start with underscore, and if you want to use numbers now, then you can use like a variable. This is my variable name, underscore one, but just one, it won't allow you. And same thing for the reserved word. And I think there is only two special characters is underscore that is allowed, and there is the dollar sign. So now this is acceptable. Okay. So I'm sure we've seen some of those keywords so far, maybe Boolean, what else? You've seen package, private, protected, public, return, some of them. Okay. Yeah. So we did look about some data type, right? You've seen that I've used like long, string, integer. Those are wrapper object type. Okay, so they are object, but we do have some primitive type. Like instead of using integer, I could have used the primitive type, which is int. Okay, and this has a default value of 0. But if I use integer and I don't provide a value, it will be null, contrary to using primitive. Likewise, for every like byte we have its uh, relevant object type byte. Short, we have the short. Int, you have integer. Long, you have a long object. Float object. And double, you have double object as well. So these have different, we used it in different cases. So if you want an integer which is within 8-bit, you use byte. If you want an integer within 16-bit, you use a short. If you want an integer within 32 bits, be an int. And again, if you want something bigger, uh, like a long, that allows you to 16-bit of characters. All right. And floating point, that's decimal point. Okay. And same thing, float and double. So it allows for decimal, but float allows only 32 bits, while double allows 64 bit. Okay. And we have two more data type. We have Boolean, and sorry, that should have Boolean big character, and char should have been character. So Boolean by default it is false, and it is 1-bit, and character is 16-bit. My mistake. I correct that. This should have been big Boolean, and it should have been character, big character. Okay. So those were the arithmetic operators that we looked at: the plus sign, minus, multiple, division, and then modulus. And we also look at the plus and the minus sign. So next we have those operators, which is called the relational operators. Now let's try to use them. Okay, I'm going to do that in here itself. So let's say we have a method, public method, that gives you your result, a result based on the mark you've provided. Okay, so your mark will be an integer, and a digit value. And based on that mark, I will tell you what's the definition of your result. Okay. So let's say if now you can see we are using that decision maker. So we are using if to tell us that if this particular condition is achieved, so this is what we are going to do. So if my mark is, let's say 100, and here you can see I'm using the double equal sign, meaning that I'm trying to evaluate whether condition A and condition B are equals. So if they are equals, I'm going to return like perfect. That's one if. Now I can have multiple if. So I will use else if I want to continue that. That's called nested if. I can end up with just one if, and or I can just do a if else. So else. I know, not like I'm not just saying that only 100 get perfect, but this in this case is going to be only 100 will get perfect result and others will get not good. Okay, but we want to say that, let's say as if your mark is between let's say greater than 90, and so we are using the and operand here just to add more condition to that. So if mark is between greater than 90 and mark is less than 100, for this condition, I would say I would return very good. Okay, so I want to add another if. So let's say if your mark is greater than 40, greater than or equal to 40, and sorry, and your mark is less than or equal to 90, I would say it is good. And then I want to finish off with else part. Yeah, I want to finish off with the else part that I want to return. Let's say not good. Okay. Get results, so we can try a few cases. So with 100 mark, what's going to give us with 92, let's say 40, and let's say 12 marks. Okay, so I'm expecting here with 100 mark will be perfect, with 93 will be within that range, so very good. 40 will be good, and then anything below 40 should be not good. Okay, I forget to print those. So again, I'm expecting perfect, very good, good, and not good. All right. Let's go back to presentation. So we've looked at the logical operators, which is the and we also have the or operand, or we have the not. So if it doesn't satisfy that condition, right? And here's a couple of topics that goes beyond what we've done. So if you want to cover more, some more grounds on that, so you can look into those. It's arrays and collections. When we talk about collections, there's date and time. So you've seen that I've used local date. So there's more than that. So if you want to look into files and IO, there's also about exception handling, multi-threading. Those are more advanced topic. And then we have like frameworks, dedicated frameworks, just to which is based on Java, like using Spring, GPA, Varding, some for some front end, and also Java FX. All right, so I think that was it. I'll try to wrap up. I know I've spent a bit more time on the practical side, but I hope that was useful. Um, Ali, do you want to continue?
Yes, sure. Thanks a lot, Ishad. So welcome everyone. To say a very quick introduction, I'm Ali. I'm from the leadership team of Ceridian. I'm not too old. I have more than 10 years of experience in the software development industry with different technologies. And it's a real pleasure to be here among you and sharing our experience. And I think you've already gone through the magic which is being done on a daily basis. Isha did a very good job on it. So we'll move more towards some, I would say, stereotype myths that people think when we talk about developers or programming. This is quite of the ideal world we'll be through. Like sometime when people look at developer, this is the guy that doesn't have a life, doesn't sleep, always finish works late, doesn't have a work-life balance, which is not ideally the case. And similarly, when other people think of how developer looks at others, it's quite of the inverse. But in reality, a developer is a simple human being, just like anybody else, and has been learning a language. For us, we've been learning English when we were young, or French, or an Oriental language. But us, when we got like to university, we've just learned a new language similar to what you've just learned recently with Ishad. And that was quite well explained by him. Simple concept and simple attribute. So just whenever we think about developers, just bear in mind, this is a simple task, a simple work, and it's being done by a simple person. We can move to the next one, please. And the next, in terms of myth or stereotypes, we often think like those myths are more related to a dominated by men, which in reality, it's quite of just a perception. One of the biggest example is Anushka. She's here. She's one of our reporting line, and she has lots of experience in the programming world and has been quite of someone who's gone through all of the different stages in software development and can give you quite of a big lecture to where someone with belief can go throughout with it. And again, this perception, you can look at it in a different way. Similarly to the call we are having, I've seen only one guy so far, so and the rest are ladies, if I'm not mistaken. But the real world is similar. When you look at university, when we do guest lecture, it's quite noticeable. There is a big gap between the amount of guys in the room and the amount of girls as well. So it's more like having more girls in the room, and this is a market which is quite like which need people, which need person, and which needs girls as well. So we can move to the other one. So we'll talk a bit about the market. When we talk about the market today in Mauritius, there's a big demand. We can't lie about it. It's very simple. Don't need to be a scientist to look at it. Just go to my job, go to motravail.mu, go to any online platform looking for job, or headhunters on LinkedIn. IT is in demand. IT software development is everywhere we are looking for it. You can look at it in billboard. You can look at it on videos being made. You can look at it even with different companies doing advertisement, even song about it. But at the end, why? This is something we need to understand today. The supply we have today is quite scarce. It's a reality. Even if we combine all the university we have in Mauritius, we are not able to supply the demand which we have in IT. And this is where you've seen like even companies are now recruiting abroad, Madagascar, or even from other continents, especially from Africa, Nigeria, Cameroon, and other places. This is quite important to understand. There is quite of a big demand and the supply is quite scarce. And this is the reality of our market. And these are opportunities for people. And definitely, If we move to the next slide, as you can understand, we do have a market demand. And why being in that software development company? Definitely money talks. Money is something that without money, you don't have honey sometimes. But the reality of it, yes, we pay a lot. If you look at it in a different perspective, something which is rare, I think in future, most of you will request for this one, a diamond ring. Why a diamond ring? I know to get married, but also why this diamond on it? Because it's rare, it's expensive, it has a value. Similarly, salary of software developers has a big value, and definitely Ceridian pays really well. That's why we are here. And this is a place whereby we need to understand this software development career, which we are talking about. It has multiple aspects. One of it, like I've mentioned, we'll talk about salary. The other one is job security. Why not joining a place whereby you know it has long years ahead, not like going to be extinct in a few months or a few years, or it's uncertain, or it's new. This has been here for years. You've seen it with Java. Ishat illustrated it well. Companies like NASA is using it. Why? Because it's not just in demand, because it's useful, it can be used, and it's here for a long time. Other thing is passion. So in reality, when you look at a developer, I sometimes look at it like a superhero, someone who has superpower. Why? Because every day he needs to have a different type of mindset. He needs to solve different problems. It can be technical, it can be soft skills level, it can be anything at different level, but at the end you're solving something, you're getting something done, you're getting something implemented. And this is something which is different from other passion. I'm not saying other job are less important, but something very important about passion is like, it's not like you're going to say, okay, today I'm going to give you what I usually say, Panadol. Okay, tomorrow you have fever, I'm going to give you Panadol. After 2 days, my head is aching, I'm going to give you Panadol. This is quite different world. Today I'm having a problem with API. My JSON is not giving me the right data. Okay, did I use a WT token with it, or did I use a different authentication? So you have a vast of things to be learned, vast of things to conquer, vast of things to adapt to. This why makes you special. This why makes you at a different level. Also, like I've said, definitely there's a high demand, and scarcity means that you have a very much more added value on the market, and this will definitely push you up forward. So basically my introduction and my presentation was quite quick. The focus was more with Ishad. Um, that's all from our side. I don't know if you guys have any question or anything you would like us to reply to. Anything? I know there was a lady in Triani, if I'm not mistaken.
There is a Q&A section below. If you have question, you can put it also over there.
Anushka, do we still have some time?
Yes, we do, Ishad. We were supposed to finish like 45 minutes from now, but I think we do have some
Okay.
time.
Okay, maybe I can show you like a quick. We recently started working on what we have in Ceridian right now is the Ceridian hackathon. So we built up a small team. We came up with an idea, and we started implementing like an innovative idea. So maybe I can show you that is um, fully developed in Java, just to uh, show you. So you guys see my ID, right? Can you see my ID? Hello.
Yes, can see.
We can see your idea.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So what we try to build as part of this hackathon is like a chatbot. When you can interact with the chatbot, you can ask questions, and you can earn rewards based on that chatbot. So this is still a work in progress, but just to show you that we've complete with that particular application, we've used like Vardin, which is Java based for the front end, for the implementation of the UI. We've used like Spring Boot as an application. It's a Spring Boot application, which also is a Java-based framework. We've used what more? We've implemented AI ML, which is artificial intelligence markup language, for our chatbot to be able to interact with us. So let me just start that application. Yeah, so the front end was done in Vaadin, and I know Anushka has worked on some Vaadin back in the days.
Yeah. It was kind of, I enjoyed working on it actually. It was very fun. The fun part as part of my career at that time.
And I think it was like introduced like very new at that time, I think, right?
Yeah, and there was nothing on the net, so Vaadin was very new. And when we had to work on the project, so we obviously would go on Google to try to find stuff, and there was almost nothing. But we had to kind of get the project live in 6 months, which was very challenging. But luckily, at that time, like the company which I work also, they were investing a lot on people, and they managed to get an expert from Finland to come to Mauritius to be able to have a workshop with us. So it was really enriching experience.
Yeah, just a quick question. We'll be sharing those link to everybody. So once the session is completed as well.
Okay, so that's a bit about that small application that we are working on. So it's in terms of front end, like I said, it's Vaadin. So all these I don't know button, those option button, those are from Vaadin itself. So here's where we are focusing mostly. So we have like a chatbot. So I say, talk to him. Hi there. So how are you? I'll do why. How are you, unknown? So he doesn't know my name yet. What's your favorite movie, for example? I don't know if we've taught him that. Is a known. Okay, so what happens behind the scene, just to give you a glance. So we have what we call AI ML. So this is where we define all the question and answers. So like when we do salutation, so when I said hi, so somewhere in that AI, there is something dedicated for salutation here. Okay, so for example, when I say, we can take example. If I say hasta luego, not sure what language it is. So should tell me like, see you later. No, so he doesn't know my name yet. So once I teach him that, he'll be able to talk to me, to mention my name. So like that, we can build up like a lot of those AI ML. I don't know what can we take as an example? Humor. So if I tell him to tell me what is humor, so I have already the definition. So it's a message to communicate laughter. Okay, like this, we can build more and more data for that chatbot to be able to communicate. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. So front end is on AI. We're using the backend, the Spring Boot to start up that application, and it's fully in Java. And I think we only took like a couple of days to come up with that, and that is meant for our hackathon, which is supposed to be happening during the week, but I think it was postponed. But yeah, this is where you can use Java to, when I mentioned earlier about machine learning, AI. So this is one of the examples, right? So I think that was it I wanted to show. Yeah. I don't know if anyone wants to add, Ali.
No, I think I think we are fine unless anyone else have some question as well. We are free to ask this.
Basic.
Basic question. We have covered basic of programming language. How can I improve my programming skill? Can you suggest something to work on? Like I have question on interface, use of Boolean, making it jump. I think to really improve the skill, I would say it's practice. Like we say, practice makes perfect. The more you get exposed, you work on application, this is what's going to help you build your skill. And you would also get exposed in terms of new concept, new ways of doing things. I don't know what stage you are right now, if you're already working or if you're still like a university student. The other aspect would be also to leverage a lot on what we also have on the net. There is so many tutorials available for you to continue to upskill yourself. There's also many sites where you can participate in terms of contributing as a developer. Like they look for people to develop or build small stuff. So you can go there and work on specific stuff, and it will help you actually to continue to build that technical aspect. So that could be one. There's always competition happening across. Sometimes it could be like company organizing, it could be even at university we are having hackathon. So make sure to always participate, and this is where actually you develop the technical aspect.
Just want to add one part of that. Programming, it's like a language similar what you've learned to English. Like Anushka mentioned, practice makes perfect. But one other thing by experience I've seen that works a lot is like each week I'm either learning something new or I'm developing something. It's not necessary to be completed, but at least you do something related to programming. It can be keeping yourself updated with the latest technology. Like for example, Flutter is out. I want to try what is Flutter, how it's going, what is running behind the scene. And then you have the other part of programming whereby the core, which has just been explained by Ishad. Those two aspects, practice and learning, keep on motivating, because at the end, if you understand the core, anything that will come in front of you, be it the latest new language XYZ that will come in front of you, you'll be able to deliver on that. So I think there's another question. Can you give a brief of Java for web development?
I can take that one. So Java is not very popular in terms of web development, although they do have a lot of technology framework to do that. For example, like we just said, we just saw that we use Vaadin. We can use like Java FX. We use GSP currently in our product that we are developing. We use a lot of GSP. There's also GSF, which is Java Surfaces. So we have a lot of framework available Java to do web development, although they are not very popular, because Java is mostly well known for its backend services for development of backend application. But yeah, that's possible to do web development. Okay.
Seems no more questions. I think we can close here, Ishan and Ali. I mean, Thank you everyone for joining us today and for being part of this session. It's a bit tricky to have a technical session live. Usually when we have workshop, we do it more like practical, where each and every candidate get the opportunities to try the example themselves. And we were discussing earlier, Ishad and Ali and myself, I think we need to continue that workshop. We'll keep in touch with Samira, and as things get back to normal in the country, so we can have a face-to-face session, like a continuity in terms of what we've done here, where you can get some real kind of experience of Java and try some example yourself. So yeah, we'll keep in touch with Samira and see how we can make this happen in the future. Hope you enjoyed the session, and if you have any question, you can email Samira, and our email address is actually our name, like first name dot surname at Ceridian.com, each one of us here. So very easy to reach out to us. You can also link through LinkedIn. So if you have any question, any suggestion, like you would like to share with us, or any kind of support, also feel free to reach out. Thank you again, everyone.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.